Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Hey, Kelly, what's up, man?
Oh, man. I want to take you back a few years to kind of a person that is interesting. He's dead, and he's probably someone that you haven't thought about in a long time, but you might have seen him on TV in the 60s.
I wasn't around in the 60s, so I wouldn't have seen
Then
him.
you wouldn't have seen him on TV in the 60s. He was born in 1932,
Okay.
and his real name was Herbert, but he didn't go by that. That was his actual name, but he had a stage name. Well, imagine a tall, awkward man with long hair, and he's kind of singing. Maybe he sounds like he's singing out of a gramophone from the 1920s. And he's got kind of this falsetto voice. And he's just doing weird stuff.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Who are we talking about?
Are you talking about Tiny Tim?
We are talking about Tiny Tim. Well done.
He was on my. I always keep this list.
You claim this all the time. You always do this to me. Like I have someone, and then you tell me it's on your list.
Yeah, and I don't think I've gotten to too many on the list, but Tiny Tim was on my original list. I'm fascinated by this Tiny Tim. I was just going to say oddball. Yeah. And Tiny Tim, man, I remember him on Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson made him real famous, right?
Yep.
And I remember. And as a kid, you're like, this is kind of cool, but I don't understand why adults like this.
Yeah. It's definitely. I don't know that as a kid I would have even thought it was cool. I still don't necessarily think it's cool, but I do think
not cool. Maybe cool was the wrong word, but like I remember thinking, "Wow, I don't know why all these adults are into this."
Well, yeah, it was definitely his strangeness, and I think the timing of it, kind of coming about in the 50s and 60s was part of it. But, he wasn't originally Tiny Tim. He was originally known or named Herbert Khaury, Khaury. And he was the son of Lebanese and Polish immigrants in New York. And he was kind of a sickly kid. He wasn't very athletic. He didn't really have much going for him. He wasn't good in school, right? Reoccurring theme. But then at some point he was given a phonograph with one record, and maybe it was his dad or mom's phonograph, but
it would have to be Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
No, actually the original song that kind of turned him on to music and he became sort of obsessed with. And remember, back in the 30s, 40s, recorded music was still a novelty, right? Yeah. There was no television really. There were certainly movies, but let's take a little listen to this first song that he heard to kind of make him become obsessed with not only music, but old records. It's called Beautiful Ohio by Henry Burr.
Long, long ago, someone I know had a little red canoe in its room for only two. Love found its start, then in my heart, and like a flower grew, drifting with the current down a moonlit stream, while above the heavens in their glory gleam, and the stars on high.
So this kind of music, to me, has a vibe, and I actually kind of like the vibe. Like, to me, that music kind of makes me smile. It makes me think of, I don't know, New York City on Christmas morning, in the cold and kind of walking and maybe going to get the Christmas goose. I don't know. It gives me a vibe. How does that kind of music make you feel?
It makes me think about like gangsters. It's funny that you think maybe I've seen a lot of gangster movies.
Al Capone kind of.
Well, I watched that Boardwalk Empire, and there were a lot of characters that were like singers that were saying that kind of like Al Jolson, people like that were characters in the show. So it's funny, I associate that with like, kind of bootlegging and gangsters and that East Coast, but it definitely kind of an East Coast feel to it.
Yeah, definitely.
But not warm and fuzzy. To me, it's kind of menacing. But just because I know it from the movies.
I guess I think of maybe being on like the Titanic, like on a steamship going across the ocean and
drinking hot air balloon.
Yeah, exactly. Drinking cocktails or a Zeppelin.
Sure.
And mingling with beautiful people from the 1920s that probably smelled bad. Well,
penny farthing.
Yes. So that was called Beautiful Ohio by Henry Burr. It was the first record that Tiny Tim kind of discovered, or Herbert, I should say, kind of discovered. So he became obsessed with these old records. He dropped out of school his sophomore year, and he became a runner for a New York office in 1952. Now, it happened that this office was MGM, so it was entertainment. So he was taking documents and things back and forth between offices and downtown New York, signed things, and that was his job. And he kind of fell in love with show business because of MGM. He kind of, even though it would be like if you worked for Disney as, I don't know, like a janitor at the Disney parks. You're
Sure.
like, yeah, I work for Disney. There's an association there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he became sick and was hospitalized and had a very kind of long sickness where for weeks and weeks, where he was so bored that he would just listen to these records and he would start to sing, and he realized he could sing in a high pitched falsetto, and that this was his superpower.
Okay.
I mean, just imagine you're singing one day and all of a sudden you realize you can sing in a high pitch falsetto.
Okay.
Well,
Bee Gees.
Yeah. I mean, that worked for them. You remember Rudolph Valentino, right? You've heard of him, the famous actor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was famous for wearing this white makeup, and he was a big influence on Herbert, who later became Tiny Tim. And he decided to go to an open mic night, and he sang "You Are My Sunshine," and he wore white makeup, and he got a big round of applause. And he was like kind of hooked at that point on being an entertainer. This was his drug. This was his passion, to sing for people and to get this applause. He started to love it. Well, in 1959, after kind of doing this for a little while, he started to do these free shows, like open mic nights, and a lot of places would let you go for just the exposure. But he landed a gig at Hubert's Museum and Flea Circus in Times Square in 1959. So this Hubert's Museum and Flea Circus was a freak show mostly, and he was one of the people that played there, and he was so weird that he kind of fit in.
So this was 1959, and there was still a flea circus going on.
Yeah, on Times Square. On Times Square. As a matter of fact, there is actually a shot in Midnight Cowboy, the movie, where you see the sign that says Hubert's Museum and Flea Circus.
No kidding.
In the background. Yeah, kind of a
That's cool.
But he started to gain a reputation, and he decided he needed a stage name. So he kind of auditioned a lot of stage names, and I'm going to read some of them to you. You tell me what your favorite is. Judas K. Foxglove. That's a good one. Emmett Swink, Swink. Texarkana Tex.
He used all these?
These were ones that he tried them out to see which one he liked.
Okay.
Herbert Buckingham Khaury. That was his real last name.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Love, the Singing Canary. Derry Dover. Vernon Castle. And then finally, Sir Timothy Timms.
I think I like Larry Love, the Singing Canary, the best.
Larry Love, the Singing Canary. Well, this was a time when, again, he was just starting to figure out what he could do. And he decided that he liked Timothy Timms not only because it had a nice ring to it, but he added that Tiny Tim to it. And it was ironic because he was actually 6'1".
I was going to say, I don't remember him being tiny.
No, it was the irony of it. He thought it was funny. So he decided to become Tiny
Like a fat
Tim.
guy named Slim or a bald guy named Curly. Yeah.
Yeah. That was sort of he was a pioneer in that area. But it was kind of one of these things where it was such a odd, bad show that people couldn't look away. You know, it was something that people started to see it as more of like a freak show, but they couldn't deny that it was interesting. So his first big hit, as you said a minute ago, was Tiptoe Through the Tulips. So I'm going to play just a little bit of that, so you can hear that famous falsetto if you aren't familiar with it.
Right? He played
a ukulele. Yep.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Oh, tiptoe from the garden, by the garden, of the willow tree. And
Another thing about his songs, they weren't originals. This was actually a cover. So here is the original of Tiptoe Through the Tulips that inspired him.
Shades of night are creeping, willow trees are weeping, old folks and babes.
That's a man singing.
Are sleeping.
I think it was more common to sing in falsetto back in these days.
Stars are gleaming.
Like you said, the Bee Gees, though.
All alone I'm scheming to get you out here, my dear. Come tiptoe to the
But that's playing it straight. That guy's not trying to be ironic or like this was a Tiny Tim was doing it as a gag, right? It was a novelty thing, right?
It
Or did
was
he
and it
actually think he
wasn't.
was good?
I think that he actually vocally was pretty talented. He could sing, and
See, I don't think it's pleasant at all. I think that guy that you just played was pretty good. I think Tiny Tim was not. That wasn't a pleasant voice. And
Well, that's
not
the thing
real
is-
polished.
around 1968, as you mentioned earlier, he started getting these TV gigs. He played on Laugh-In. That was his first national television show. He was on Ed Sullivan, which was kind of Ed Sullivan, I think, was the first one to play the Beatles and kind of make them famous, at least in the U.S. But people couldn't decide if they loved it or if they were terrified of it, right? It was kind of
I always thought it kind of went with the hippie thing, right? It was frightening to me as a kid. He was frightening to me. Like I mentioned in previous episodes, that many hippies were frightening to me.
Yes. And then the parents would kind of glom onto that because there were all these rumors about him, much like rumors about Ozzy Osbourne or rumors about, other metal bands back in the day. They said he didn't use deodorant or soap, which actually was true, that he saved his toenail clippings in jars and had jars and jars full of them. He collected women's hair and it was all cataloged by color.
That's a little creepy.
He ate primarily potatoes. His main diet was all potatoes. It was just kind of a weird thing. But then where he really hit big was when he got the most watched television show in the history of the world. 40 million people in 1969 tuned in to Johnny Carson to see him get married. So he married Miss Vicky, his teenage sweetheart, and that was more people than watched the moon landing. Was Tiny Tim getting married on Johnny Carson?
Wow. And she was like 16, right?
Yeah. She was young. He was a little bit older. He had a ruffled suit on. Vicky was kind of confused, and it was just this train wreck that people couldn't turn away from. It was a cultural oddity.
Wow. Now, So is that advancement from like, it's funny that he's associated with the flea circus because I mentioned lowbrow
Yeah.
entertainment on a
Yeah.
previous episode. I think this is kind of the epitome of lowbrow entertainment, right? And the precursor to all the, you know, the Jerry Springer type of things that we talked about before too.
Yeah, maybe so. But, you know, I feel like this has always existed. I mean, people used to go to public executions, right? And go to, you know, people would fight the gladiators fighting the lions. I mean, that seems very base to me. I don't know about lowbrow, but it's, you know, it's not very sophisticated or educated or even sensitive or empathetic.
And there's also a sense of laughing at someone versus laughing with someone that I always have difficulty with. You know, I mean,
like Rodney Dangerfield, you would laugh with him because you know he's doing a character.
Right.
Whereas Tiny Tim, you're like, is this guy for real?
Right. There was a guy on one of the first American Idols named William Hung. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
Hearing about that guy?
Yeah, and he was terrible.
Singer.
Yep.
And everybody kind
him
of
up.
And he got really famous, and he may even had a hit record. And I always felt uncomfortable about that because I'm like, we're
exploiting this guy.
Yeah, should people be famous for being bad at their craft?
There is an expression of laughing all the way to the bank.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. I mean, I'm not saying it's not lucrative. I'm just saying is it good for us?
I think as a society, it's not, but it was good for William Hung, and it was good for Tiny Tim because we're talking about him, right? He's interesting enough to be talked about.
Sure.
What you mentioned several times that you thought his style was grating and hard to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to listen to a little bit of this song, and this is one where he plays two different parts. He plays a man and a woman. Now, the woman is being followed by this man who she doesn't know, and he wants to take her on the old front porch and give her a kiss, but she's resisting. But it's kind of got a stalker feel to it.
He plays both parts.
Yeah, he's the man and the woman. So give this a listen.
And now, a little duet for you. There's a fellow following me. I'm the fellow following you. I will follow you till the day is through. I wonder what you would do if I stopped and said, how do you do? Like other girls do. I think I'd die with delight. I want to call and love you tonight. In the parlor? No. In the hammock? No. Then for goodness sakes, where will we go? Out on the old front porch. With Uncle Charlie on the old front porch. Now stop! I was only trying to steal a little kiss. Well, kisses do invite me, dear, but please don't hug so tightly on the old.
See, I kind of like this song. I hate to admit it. Is it cringy to you?
Oh, it's scary. Like it's creepy.
It is creepy.
As the kids say, it gives me the ick. Right? I could see somebody using this in a horror film.
Yeah.
While somebody's chasing somebody to play this in the bar. It's downright scary to me.
Wow. Okay. But that is, you got to admit, the back and forth between the male and the female part is pretty seamless.
Yeah, it's funny because he's got a tinge of Andy Kaufman in him, right? That he knows.
Yeah.
He can't possibly think that straight up that people enjoy it. So he knows that there's some kind of novelty.
He's got to make it weird.
But he's not as talented as someone like Weird Al. Although Weird Al doesn't exactly have a pleasant voice either, but I think his song parodies were way more clever than this. But he kind of sits in that valley between Andy Kaufman and Weird Al, right?
Yeah, it's the Rhino Records, right? It's kind of these albums of Dr. Demento and Monster Mash would always be on those records.
But I think he is downright. This guy scares me.
So speaking of scary, I want you to listen to this one here. It's kind of painful to listen to, but it's actually pretty clever, I think, and it ends with a really bad pun. This is called The Viper.
Story of that old snake in the grass called the Viper. I was in my apartment all alone when I heard a ring tingling on the telephone. I said, "Who's that at 3:30?" And a frightening voice came back at me. I am the Viper. I'll see you in 7 weeks. My head was spinning and my knees were weak.
So it's this
I could
whole
hardly
kind of
stand on my own 2
poem
feet.
similar to
Its next call got me out of
The
bed,
Raven.
and how I
Yeah.
flipped.
But it's
This
the
is our
Viper.
Halloween episode, right?
Yes, I hope so. The Viper. Well,
Holy cow, man. That scares me. I don't like that.
well, it ends with a pun where he says, "I want to wipe your windows."
You love this stuff, don't you?
I felt like
Well,
Jell-O in a
so-
hurricane.
His marriage to Miss Vicky, the 16-year-old, fizzled. Didn't last forever. The 1970s saw the novelty wearing off, and Tiny Tim kind of became more of a occasional bizarre person at county fairs, small clubs. I feel like he played Austin. Like, I feel like he was here at least once. You know, I remember, maybe not in the, but I remember seeing, I don't know, flyers for it or something. But he recorded a children's album. He recorded a Christian gospel album. He did a horror themed record, kind of like that one. I think that Viper song was off of the horror themed record. He continued to eat mostly potatoes and onions. He ran for mayor of New York City. But he also wouldn't wash his hands, yet was a big germaphobe, but refused to wash his hands.
His speaking voice was not what we just heard, right? Did he have that was falsetto?
I think that little introduction where he says, "And now a story of da da da," he's kind of like doing the old British lady to me.
Right.
Is what it sounds like.
Julia
to me.
Child. Well, she wasn't British, but yeah, that.
Yeah, but she always sounded like the old British lady, right?
Yeah. So did he have a deeper speaking voice?
Yes. I think when he spoke kind of like Geddy Lee, right? You hear Geddy Lee sing, and then you hear him speak, and they're two different things.
Sure.
So he kind of went a little bit popular again in the 1990s with college kids, and it was sort of the ironic thing. People found him ironic, and
he was in his 60s then.
Yeah, and he actually had a gig where he was playing and he had a heart attack, and in 1996, and he died at the age of 64.
Doing a show.
Yeah, he was performing for, I think it was a women's group, and that was the end. He dropped over. He never recovered, and he died performing. This is what it said. He actually collapsed playing "Tiptoe Through the Tulips." I think there is actually a video of that.
Ooh.
I think you can find a video of that, of him collapsing on stage.
I don't want to see that.
No, I don't either. It was sad, but it was kind of, a little bit touching that he died doing what he loved, because he had some heart conditions before based on his diet and kind of lifestyle. I think he had some problems with his heart. His doctors told him not to play. He said, "I'm going to play anyway." And he did it. And then he died doing it.
Was he in on the joke is the big question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Hard to say. I mean, you keep making these, or you made this connection to Andy Kaufman, and that's actually pretty brilliant, because you wonder, did he ever turn that character off, or was he just always this genius who loved old timey songs and maybe liked creeping people out, liked annoying the critics? It was kind of his shtick to do those things.
At some point, even if he started straight, at some point he had to realize that the reason that he was popular was because he was odd. And did he take that all the way to the bank, or did he not accept it and just
no? I do think I mean, it's hard to say. I guess when we're famous podcasters, we might get a little bit of an ego, but I feel like, when you do get some recognition, you're going on television shows, you are selling records, you've got a green room in the back and you've got groupies and all that. It probably goes to your head a little bit and you start to think you are really talented. But I think he always kind of realized that he was an oddity. I mean, much the way, we talked about circus freaks, and I use that word as in freak show kind of people. They know that people are there to gawk at them. They know that people don't necessarily find them appealing, but want to stare at them. And again, it's kind of it's a way to exploit what you have for your own benefit.
So you said you've watched a lot of these Johnny Carson clips. What kind of interview questions when he was a person, did he have a good personality?
I think he was pretty funny and witty and quick-witted, and yes, I think the interviews were a lot of what I saw was people asking about his personal habits and rumors, because there were a lot of rumors about him. So is it true that you collect your toenails in a jar? Well, I might do so. And he would talk in character during those, right? So it's hard to say if he had a normal voice when he wasn't in this character.
And those characters really did well on Johnny Carson, because he and Ed McMahon were so straight-laced.
Yes, it was a lot of juxtaposition.
Yeah, and just any kind of hippies going on those kind of shows, really, the way they dressed and the way they talked, and they were just like guys from another planet coming in, and they really got a kick out of him.
Beautiful
That's
freaks.
Amazing that more people watched that wedding than the moon landing.
Yeah, 40 million people tuned in for his wedding on television. Well, I want to kind of wrap up with one more song, and this song, I will put it out there and say, I actually think this is a good song. I actually enjoy this song. Now, he says a goofy little quip at the beginning that is, I don't know, it's like almost trying too hard, but let's listen to a good 60 seconds of this song, and I want you to tell me who it reminds you of, because I think there's a very clear influence here of someone who you wouldn't expect to be maybe but based on the other songs that he seemed to emulate from, this one has a little different vibe. So let me play it for you. This is called Then I'll Be Satisfied with My Life.
Never hit your grandma with a shovel. It makes a bad impression on her mind. All I want is $50 million and sealskins to protect me from the cold. If I only knew how stocks would go in Wall Street, and we're living in a mansion built of gold. If I only owned the Pennsylvania Railroad, and if Tuesday would only be my wife.
Now, does this sound to you like a classic kind of Western swing country song? Mm-hmm. Kind of odd from all the other little clips I played, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Well, my takeaway on that was a bit of a Bob Wills thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys.
Yeah. No, it's funny because when I heard that, I started thinking about Beck. I started thinking about when Beck first came on the scene. Nobody really knew what to make of him. He was this odd little guy that didn't look like a rapper, but he definitely had rap songs. And then as he went on he expanded into all kinds of different kinds of music.
Yeah.
And then he got really respected. Like, wow, this guy's really got some chops.
Yeah.
But I think when Beck first started, he was kind of like a weirdo.
Well, people considered him a one-hit wonder, right? Because Loser was a huge hit,
Sure.
huge hit.
Yeah, and that
but
album Odelay, I think, won a Grammy or something. I mean,
Odelay was his second album.
Second,
So his first album was called Mellow Gold. That was with
Okay.
Loser, which also has some great songs on it. There's a song called Soul Sucking Jerk and Beer Can. I love that album, but Odelay is even better. Odelay, but it's weird. Yeah, it's kind of like he leaned into the weirdness a little bit. Beck did.
but Beck was a great musician, I think, as it turned out. And but that's interesting. If we had done this without me hearing that song, I would have thought, well, his act kind of wore thin because all he did was sing songs from the 1920s in a high voice. But that was interesting.
Yeah. It's a nice little like again, that kind of song, Western swing, always takes me to kind of a happy place. Like I can listen to that
Right.
anytime, and just it's backgroundish, but it's also just got a certain charm and vibe to it.
Wonder what he was trying to do with that. Was that when he was Texarkana Tex? Is that what
That probably was Texarkana Tex. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that Tiny Tim was someone you considered doing, because I actually, when you pull a name off that sheet and I've picked that name, I always consider it a compliment.
Sure.
To say that okay, we're thinking along the same lines here. Did you know much of that about Tiny Tim?
No, I just remembered him as being this odd figure, and I always remembered him being real popular with the hippies. And I remember, of course, that wedding. What year was that wedding?
69, December of 69.
So that wedding happened before I was born, but it's something that I feel like I watched, even though I've probably never seen it. I've seen clips,
You can see clips of it. Yeah, it's still available.
It's funny that was something that, even though it happened before I was born, it was definitely something that is in my cultural knowledge base.
Right. It was a cultural touchstone. And again, that's because 40 million people watched it.
Same year as the moon landing.
Yeah, that was 69 as well, toward the end of the year.
It was a good thing it wasn't on opposite the moon landing. Nobody would have watched the damn moon landing.
Tonight on the Carson Show. Don't skip the moon landing. Yeah. Well, that's Tiny Tim. And he I guess you'd call him maybe a beautiful freak.
Pour one out for Tiny Tim.